All right there, world. How you doing? Welcome to the Spin the Wheel podcast with me, the Edi Johnston Bit, and my spinny wheel. Here he is, right there. You can see him if you're watching on YouTube. You can't see that if you're listening on iTunes or on Spotify or anything along those lines. But trust me, he looks very pretty. He's ready with his questions, ready to spin and see exactly where we take things. With my special guest, my guest today, ladies and gentlemen, is a guy that most of you probably haven't heard of. He's a guy off the local comedy scene in Nottingham and the East Midlands, and it's a guy called Ian Peskett. Now, Ian is a guy I have seen perform a bunch of times. He's a guy I've chatted to quite a lot, and he's a fantastic writer. He's an amazing comedy writer. I think I really, really rate him. But more importantly than that, he's got an amazing story. Now, I'm recording this introduction after I've spoken to Ian, so I can tell you this is my favourite. Of all the podcasts I've done so far, this was the one that I came away from thinking, whoa, that was really cool. And I hope you do too. So, Ian Peskett, he's a local guy. He's got an amazing story of recovery from where he was to where he is now. I hope you enjoy this. I really, really hope you do. And I will catch up with you afterwards. But for now, are you ready? Here it goes. Let's spin the wheel. Hello and welcome back to the Spin the Wheel podcast. It's me, the Edi Johnston Bit, and welcoming my guest, Mr. Ian Peskett. How you doing, brother?
Good morning, Eddie. I'm very well, thank you.
Nice to see your lovely face.
Hello to Eddie's mother-in-law.
Absolutely. She is my target audience, so I dare say she will be listening or watching at some stage. Less about that, more about you. We are in the presence of, in my personal opinion, one of the best comedy writers I've certainly seen for a long, long time. I get the chance to go around Nottingham and see various musicians and comedians and stuff. And seeing your stuff has been a bit of a breath of fresh air, to be fair. You're a comedian based in Nottingham?
I'm just basking in that for a minute, if that's all right.
Take the intro.
I've had worse reviews, I have. Yeah. I live in Arnold, just outside of Nottingham. I've been around Nottingham for about 8 years now.
Okay.
I'm from the county before that, so Sutton, Kirkby, Mansfield.
Okay, North End. Yeah.
As regards a comedian, I get up and I do stuff on stage. I don't know if I quite put myself in that bracket yet. I'm kind of a semi-amateur.
But nice. But it's not your full-time thing, is it? What do you do? You work in rehab services?
Yeah, I work for a project called Studio House. It's in Basford. So it's like a long-term rehabilitation program where we get people living with us for a bit. Primarily, I spend 9 to 12 months telling them that they're wrong about almost everything, and at the end of which they thank me and go on to live more productive lives.
Nice. If only everything was as clear-cut. So how long have you been doing that?
It's coming up for 7 years now. I went in as a resident back in, it was May the 1st, 2013.
Yeah.
I spent about 5.5 months in there before I was asked to leave for semi-nefarious doings. But I managed to stay clean and get involved with other services, and then an opportunity came up for me to be able to go in and do the final aspect of the program, even though I'd missed a little bit of it.
Okay.
Which was an honour. I've not known anyone else have that treatment or attempt to get it. But then at the end of that, it's like a graduation. I don't know how else to explain it.
Okay.
I threatened them. I said, I'm going to keep coming back until you give me a job. And then I put in a volunteer app, and I picked it up very quickly, I think. Prior to that, my life experiences taught me that I had no skills,
that
I was useless and all that other stuff, which contributed to the reasons why I ended up in rehab in the first place. Yeah. I was told that I was wrong about almost everything, and then I thanked them, and it turns out that I'd actually got some skills in that arena. It's worked out.
Because it's quite an amazing story. You touch on so many aspects of it within your show and within your stand-up stuff. But in terms of, like you say, someone who was in a situation that needed that help, and then to be in a position of saying, actually, I realise the value in this and I want to be that person for other people. I think it's amazing. I think it's a great story.
Yeah, there's something really poetic about it. How I've come to term it. There's a couple of aspects. Studio House introduced me to living with purpose and then gave me one. I'm now trusted with the hearts and minds of vulnerable people. When only 8 years ago, I couldn't be trusted with my own. And there's something really beautiful about it.
Oh, okay. It's early. Why are we getting this deep so soon? Come on now. That's huge. It's absolutely brilliant. And like I say, if anybody is fortunate enough to get the chance to see Ian on stage, you see some of his story and the way that he puts it across in his own inimitable style. Let's go with that.
Yeah, come along and see my humble brilliance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And on that bombshell, are we ready to spin a wheel?
Oh, yeah.
So I've got my 24 questions on my spinny wheel. They haven't changed. They're all exactly the same.
Before we start, I want to see the back of that wheel. Is it weighted?
Nope.
There's no weight.
Nope.
That's okay.
It is.
Just checking.
As you might be able to see, I don't know whether you can see it. It is fresh from IKEA. Number 18. Tell me about your first car.
Do you know what? I looked at your list of questions just before I came on and I saw that and I'm like, I hope that one doesn't get asked because I don't have a license. I don't drive. So I'm going to tell you a little story about when I was a kid. Yeah. I had this little truck. It was a Tonka toy thing.
Oh, okay.
And my first mode of transportation as a child, I was about 3 years old, I think. And I can remember playing about with it, and I can't quite show you. It was probably about 1.5 feet in length and about 9 inch high or whatever. And so I wouldn't be able to do anything with it now, like treat it like a skateboard or anything. But I remember going up to my grandmother's in Kirkby, and there's this really big steep hill that comes round and down past my grandmother's house. And I used to go up there and ride down on it. And that was a thrill ride. I was going up to like 3 miles an hour at one point.
Wow.
Like the wind brushing my hair back. I would say that was my first mode of transportation.
Nice. There's something to be said about childhood toys. I had a tricycle. I still remember the colour. I still remember like solid steel green, but it's just kind of firmly imprints in your mind, isn't it? Something about those memories that are really, really strong.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable. And I wore the wheels down on it as well.
After that, did you graduate towards skateboards, scooters?
I did. I mean, there's a bit in my set about having a really big skateboard. We'll come back to that because I've been informed this is a family-friendly show.
Absolutely. So if you can't drive, is it just literally a case of jumping on buses?
Yeah, for the most part. If I tell you a bit about why, I mean, you kind of know a little bit about my history.
Yeah, a little bit.
And so from leaving school, the next 10 years become plagued by heroin.
Yeah.
Finances was not something I was able to hold on to very long for those periods of time.
Okay, that makes sense.
The desire to travel much further than my little route of fulfilling those desires wasn't that pressing.
Yeah.
Then after that, I ended up devolving into alcoholism a little bit. And you know, you're not quite allowed to drive under those conditions.
Yeah, it's frowned upon, isn't it? Yeah.
Ideas a little bit, yeah. And then I entered rehab and I went through all that stuff and I was volunteering for a bit, so I didn't have finances. Then I ended up developing a penchant for buying shiny stuff on eBay. But it was like I never really missed what I didn't have. My life has always been contained quite close to me, and if I was ever going anywhere further afield, there was always somebody who was catering for that aspect to get into and from. I think I only really started noticing that it was something that I could do with all that I needed when I started gigging, just because I became a little bit reliant on getting to the ones further afield.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I'm saving up at the minute. I've got a lump of cash that I'm increasing in an envelope at present for that's on my list of things to do.
Cool.
But yeah, it's just what I still keep buying shiny stuff.
Well, you know, as and when you need a lift to a gig, give me a shout.
Thank you. I will tell you. This is recorded, isn't it?
Yeah,
cool. I've got you back to right now.
Right, come on then. Let's see if we can get it onto something that you do know about. Okay, number 15. Where do you go to get away from it all?
I always used to regard myself as an outdoorsy person, and it turns out I've been lying to myself that whole time. And so if I'm to answer that question honestly today, it's burying my head in the PlayStation. I'm back on Red Dead Redemption 2 at the minute. Okay. So I'm traveling around Blackwater and Saint Denis and shooting people. That's where I get away from it all. So if I store up any frustrations or annoyances throughout the day and I find it hard to offload or debrief, I go and take it out on the random citizens of those places.
Nice. Is it PlayStation, Xbox? Which is your...
PlayStation. Yeah.
And that's so your default setting is going around shooting people.
Yeah, I play Grand Theft Horse.
Nice. For those people who don't know, it's a kind of a Western kind of based game, although the violence is very much modern day. But that's the place that you tend to get away from stuff.
That's definitely what I've been maximising, what has been dominating my spare time of late. Yeah.
I guess again, current circumstances mean that's something that a lot of people have done. It's one of those things that you can get social contact with other people through those kind of games as well, I suppose.
Yeah, and then there's the activity aspect of it that helps generate a bit of competition or cohesiveness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's definitely got plus points for it.
Nice. Okay. Number 1, who most inspires you? To caveat this, we're taking family off the table.
Yeah.
Okay, because everybody tends to revolve straight round to my dad, my mum, my gran, etc. So, who most inspires you, Ian?
Because I'm greedy.
Yeah, go on.
Can I have 2?
Of course you can.
Cool. I think Doug Stanhope, it sticks out massively in my field of vision.
Okay.
I have this idea, and it's been running in me for some years now, that stand-up comedy is the last honest art form. I watch TV. Well, I don't watch TV for the reasons that I'm just about to cite.
Okay.
But it's very shallow. It's very superficial. It's very unrealistic. I mean, reality TV is as far removed as it can be, and there's something really raw and honest and authentic about one bloke in a microphone or woman. I'm not marginalising, but because I'm thinking about Doug Stanhope, he's a bloke. But there's something really raw and authentic about his delivery and the stuff that he'll touch, and he manages to do it. Not necessarily tentatively, but it manages to do it in a way that's really open and gets you to look at the subject matter from a different light. And I think that's what's necessary, because there's a lot of division around certain topics between people, and it makes it so that the topic of conversation isn't even up for discussion. And that's where the issue is. It needs to be discussed. These to be brought to the fore, and I think that because you're threading laughs throughout it and kind of making light of sensitive issues without there being a but to the joke, I think that makes the conversation easier to engage with.
Yeah.
So that's my number one. And then there's a man who I work with. His name is Kirk Blacker, and I mean, he was there when I got there as a resident. And if I'm really honest, I didn't understand him back in those days when I was just trying to get to grips with this thing that I know now as recovery and other stuff. But he is easily the most emotionally stable and in tune man that I have ever met.
Wow.
And it was enviable. It is really enviable. He is powerful. He is a powerful force, but he's not. There's no malevolence to him either.
Yeah.
He's just got a generous spirit. He's kind. He's giving. He's loving. He's present in the moment at all times. From my observations, I love him. He's brilliant.
And he's someone that you now work alongside.
Yeah. He's the project manager, and so he deals with most of the day program aspects.
Yeah.
And he's really gifted at that. He's got great people skills. Wow. He can just tap right into the core of you without it feeling invasive. Just allowing those bits to come to the fore, especially in the field that I'm working in, where we're trying to hide from our vulnerabilities because they've been abused or whatever else comes with it. You know, the life experiences that lead people to rehab, because they're not coming to us off of good circumstances.
No, true. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Just
having that stuff be able to be brought to the fore by somebody and have it explored and nurtured and supported is kind of what's necessary, and he does it in a very enviable style.
Wow. He sounds like an amazing kind of person to get to know, but I would imagine that he's somebody who doesn't get recognised by local press. He just does what he does and does it in the best way he possibly can. Yeah,
he does it because he knows that's where his answer is.
Yeah.
You know, that by helping others, he's being served. I mean, that's kind of what I've learned, because my addiction was selfish in nature. So the only answer to that is to be of service to others. And I learned that in part from him.
That's amazing, man. You must get so much self-value, if you know what I mean, from being in the position that you're in now, knowing the position that you were in and the people that you were inspired by at that time and got you on the straight and narrow to actually put yourself back in that situation. It must give you a lot of self-worth to know, actually, do you know what? I'm doing something to help others in the way that others helped me previously.
I don't acknowledge it that frequently, and I don't acknowledge where I was that frequently now. It's just that I'm here and this is how things are. And when I do think about that stuff, it's like, oh yeah, I was thinking about some previous experiences last night. I was thinking about some times when I was in prison and stuff that happened at those times. And to some degree, it feels like it was for somebody else now.
Yeah.
There's a big removal between me and those experiences. I mean, I don't allow myself to forget them completely, because that way lies complacency, then damnation.
Yeah.
But it's I've recognised that those events don't define me anymore.
It must seem like someone else's life, almost like it was a complete separation from it. Although at the same time, I guess you're having to acknowledge it on a daily basis in dealing with people who are in a similar situation that you were in previous.
There's definitely aspects of it, but you've also got to factor in that through those experiences, I was numb anyway. And so being able to connect to them wholeheartedly is a nigh impossible task, because I wasn't going to allow myself to connect to anything at those times. And so then, I can recognise that I was there because my senses told me that I was there, but my heart and soul were dead at those times. And they're the aspects of me that I like to live in more.
Wow. Okay, right. Let's get back to talking about cars and shoes and things, shall we? Number 17. If you could make a support bubble for a current celebrity, who would that be?
Jesus.
I mean, aim high, yeah, but I'm not necessarily saying that.
I mean, this is one I'm stymied. I don't even know celebrities.
Fair point.
I'll go back to Doug Stanhope. It's nice and easy. I'm guaranteed a laugh.
So
I might learn something along the way.
So for those people who don't know, Doug Stanhope, American stand-up.
Yes.
Obviously, you mentioned him previously about the reasons why. Why do you think he'd be? Do you think he'd be the kind of person you want in the house with you?
I think that if nothing else, he's going to be entertaining. You wouldn't be bored in his presence, I don't believe, for a minute.
True. You can look at the question in a number of different ways. Some people have gone with, I want to create a support bubble for somebody who I know might potentially be at risk. A lot of people have mentioned David Attenborough on the grounds of national treasure, possibly at risk as more than some of the wildlife that he looks at. But yeah, so Doug Stanhope tends to be your... How many DVDs of his do you possess? Or
I believe that I have all his specials on DVD. I've not got all the albums that he's done.
Is there anybody else within that? Or is it literally he's the kind of default set? Because knowing you and the kind of stuff that... So people like Bill Hicks, people like...
Bill Burr, Louis C.K., George Carlin.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other comics that aren't American that I really appreciate. Steve Hughes, Sean Locke, Lee Mack. Yeah,
I can imagine you and Sean Locke having quite a good conversation. If that were to ever occur, that would be a pairing I'd pay to see. That would be interesting.
I'd enjoy that, but he won't answer my emails.
Yeah, no, don't want that one. No, can't do that one. Let's go with this. Okay, this could be interesting. I don't know where it's going to take us. Favourite school subject?
Wow, now we're going back.
What were you like at school, Ian?
When I attended?
Yes.
I was just having a conversation a little while ago on Messenger with somebody and talking about how I was massively insecure in almost every area of my life, but I believed I was very smart and I wanted everybody to know how intelligent I was, and I abused that power. And so when it came to it, any lesson that I got in for the curriculum, I was able to very quickly get the schoolwork done, but I had no level of connection to it and I didn't really care about it. Okay. So I'd smash the workout. I'd smash an hour's workout in 10 minutes and then spend 50 minutes messing about.
Yeah.
That was for the first 2.5 years. And then I started investing into cannabis in a very heavy way. And so then I started just signing in the morning and then skipping school and going for a smoke. I can tell you that the subject that was least my favourite, and that was PE, and that was evidenced by the fact that I'd rather smoke buckets in the woods when we're supposed to be doing cross country or whatever. And I don't know if I've got favourite subjects, but it's because it's all about who's delivering it to you.
Yeah, completely.
Simon Martin was my tutor, and he used to do German lessons and business studies. And I always appreciated his presence. He didn't feel like he was dominating or that he didn't care or that he was just a by the book kind of fella.
Yeah.
He had a level of humanity about him. But then maybe I recognised that because we went on a school trip and so I was able to mess about a bit on the school trip with him, where the others only ever saw in the formal settings.
Where was the trip? Where did you go?
It was just a little cabin. It was called Shining Cliff. It's not far from Matlock in Derbyshire. Okay. And so he was able to rent out this little complex. And so you got like 2 cabins and then a little toilet area stuff, and a little cave, having campfires and doing marshmallows and all that other stuff. I was only 11 at the time. It was my first year at school, but it was a nice experience, and totally. It helped me understand him as I didn't recognise it at the time. I'm only looking at it retrospectively that I recognised his humanity at that time rather than him just being an authority.
So was it more about the person delivering the subject than the subject itself, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was some. I mean, geography. I like geography. I like working with maps. I like understanding elements of other cultures. And I like history because, I mean, like I was talking before when we're talking about the narrative, I like backstory. I like knowing how we got where we got. I can't remember his name now, but the geographer, Mr. Coulson, he was a nice bloke. He left, though, I think, probably when I was in my second year, because I just don't remember seeing him after that. Or maybe that's because I was in the woods.
I mean, there's that, yeah. I know exactly what you mean when you talk about it depends on who delivers your subject to you. I know in the past I've been very fortunate to have conversations with pupils who've said things like, I always used to hate PE, but I quite like your lessons. It is all about rapport and relationship and trying to get that out of people. I remember when I was a kid, I don't really remember that much about my PE lessons, not particularly fondly, but the lessons that I remember fondly are my history teacher and my art teacher. They were just really good teachers. My history teacher was epic. I very nearly went into archaeology and stuff like that because of him. He was really, really inspirational. Yeah, I paid so much more attention to him than I did to my actual PE and maths teachers and stuff like that. It's all about how you actually get on with people, isn't it?
Definitely. I didn't see the relatability between the subject matter and life. To keep somebody engaged, they need to be able to see that it's relatable.
You want to see some value in it, right?
Like quadratic equation sticks out as an example of that. Trigonometry. It's like I've never needed to map how far the sun is away from us. I've not.
No.
I mean, in maths, I listened up during weights and measures, currencies and fractions. I learned how to be a drug dealer, but outside of that, I wasn't paying much attention.
Right, okay. Moving on. We'll let the wheel decide. I'm going to go big this time. It says, this is number 20, tell me about one specific highlight that sticks in your memory from your childhood.
I was really into happy hardcore growing up.
Oh, wow.
And there was just something that, for whatever reason, I was never allowed to go raving.
Yeah.
When I was a kid. And I remember
how old are we talking here?
I'm talking all the way up until I'd left home, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
I felt kind of restricted in a lot of my movements growing up. But I was a lad one time, and it was February 1997. I was 15, and some of my favourite DJs were playing at Teens Vibe Light in Mansfield Leisure Centre.
Nice.
2 of my favourite DJs doing a back-to-back session, Dougal and Hixie, for anybody who's into that stuff. And there was a new DJ coming onto the scene. His name was Antisocial, and he was playing all of his stuff. Although I did end up getting a little bit resentful that night because he started throwing out some of his vinyl to the audience.
Okay.
And I kept trying to push my way to the front, and I'm sure he caught me and decided to go to the other side of the stage. So I'm winding my way through this crowd of people trying to get to the other wing, trying to grab one of these records out the sky. But there's something really liberating about those kind of experiences. You know, collectively you're all there, one purpose, no animosity, no aggression, no anger, level of connection, even though you don't know each other, the energy that builds up in you. There's just something really beautiful about that. And it's something that I moved away from. Not that I had that much engagement with. I mean, I attempted last year. I attempted to go and see Baker Matt in London, and I just got very resentful and angry at the whole situation and realised that I'm just not a raver anymore. You know, no, I'm not pushing boy. I'm just not. Where's my pipe and slippers type
Absolutely.
stuff? Because everybody was there. They were just there to get off the face, and they're just barging past me while I'm trying to have a minute. And
I don't know. Happy hardcore is a bit weird as far as I'm concerned. I've never understood the whole scooter thing and all of that. As a muso, it almost seemed too easy. Throw this thing, throw that thing, stick a bit of a melody on it, bish bash bosh, done. Right, next tune.
Production line stuff.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, it was the melodies that always caught me.
Yeah.
I'm very fussy with music anyway, which is why I don't do a lot of live gigs. And I hate the fact that if I don't like a song that's being played, I get angry that I don't like it. And I've got absolutely no discernible musical talent at all whatsoever. I mean, I make a joke about being awesome on a tambourine, but that's a bit sketchy at best. But I'm sitting there judging these people for messing these songs up that they've created that other people are enjoying, and I still can't get my head around that stuff. And so I just decided to abstain, and I just choose the music that I like to listen to, and it's always the melody that catches me.
Hang on, so you get annoyed at the fact that you don't like a song for some particular reason, but you get annoyed with yourself for not liking it rather than with the musician for making something that you don't like?
If I scrutinise this stuff, what's happening is somebody's playing a song that I find displeasing, and I'm taking that personally. And then, well, who am I to take this personally? It's like there are other people here. Like, people have put these people in the charts. Like, why is my opinion that important? So then I have to peel it back to that part of it, and that's where the annoyance comes in.
Who'd have thought Ian Peskett scrutinising something too seriously? And who'd have thought that was ever going to happen? What do you find yourself listening to these days? If happy hardcore was childish music,
I listen to all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's not many genres that I can't find something enjoyable in.
Yeah.
I mean, at the minute, I've gone back into piano house classics. That's what I'm on at the minute. And then there's this South African duo, electro duo called Goldfish, and they do some really good production work. So they're doing house music, but with real instruments rather than synthesized samples. It's cool. Just a real rich quality to it. But I listen to bits of everything.
Have you ever seen the In Here brothers? Have you seen them?
No, I remember the Out There brothers.
Yeah, they're two acoustic guitarists. They do classic old house tunes, but they do them on guitars. They're really good, actually.
I might have seen them because I have seen a video with two people on guitars playing old dance tunes. So it could have been them.
Last one. Tell me about a special place to you.
Bournemouth.
Okay.
I like Bournemouth. Yeah.
Why Bournemouth?
So back in the depths of my addiction, in 2006, I went through a lot of bad experiences. Am I allowed to get deep here?
Mate, go whatever you want to do.
So trigger warning. So 2006, I was selling drugs for two different people, and it led to an event whereby I lost a lot of drugs and I got very scared.
Okay.
At that time, I was already living in despair and tired of doing the same things over and over again. Couldn't find a way out of it. And I decided I was going to find a way out of it. And that meant what you think it means. And so I still had some drugs on me and decided I was going to take the lot and say goodbye to this plane. Regrettably, on that day, my plan didn't succeed. Obviously, I'm glad that it didn't now.
We all are,
But it just contributed to the feeling of despair and uselessness that fostered that idea in the first place.
Okay.
So then for a couple of days after that, one of the drug dealers was coming round trying to get their money back, threatening, which just exacerbated the fear. And I just needed to get out of town. And one of my friends who I'd met in prison some years before just happened to have fallen out of prison again recently. Yeah. And he came and I informed him where I was at, what had been happening. He says, cool, pack a bag, we're going. And we just headed out. And we didn't know what we was doing. And I mean, it gave rise to some very negative behaviour. Those adventures that I went on for the next few months, but was travelling around the country and it just felt liberating. And we're just going off and going to the pub and seeing things and having a laugh and all this other stuff. I mean, it was swamped with drugs, but not to the level that it was at home. We ended up finding ourselves down on the south coast. And there was just something really beautiful and pure and enjoyable about Bournemouth as a town. It's got a nice landscape to it. It's a nice beach, and it just felt really comfortable there. And I've visited it a few times since, and it's not lost that luster.
Still has the same kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
I guess it's completely different from where you are here. So although you're not like jetting over the world or anything else, you go in somewhere which has a completely different vibe, completely different feel to it, and I guess takes you away from how you might feel at home.
Yeah, it was, I just felt it, like I say, liberating, free, comfortable. And those were experiences that I very rarely had at those times.
When was the last time you were there?
2016,
okay.
I think. But it was a brief flying visit, popped in and popped out again. Before that, it would have been 2013. Camped nearby and visited it a few times, and again it still experienced as nice as it had those years before.
Yeah, right. We've come to the end of our spins. Ian, how was spinning the wheel for you?
It was okay. It was okay.
Okay, it was okay. Brilliant. I'll take that.
It was just a couple of them questions kind of sideblinded me. I knew that they were on the list. I still didn't expect them.
Now, obviously, we're getting to the stage where the world is gradually returning to what we call normal. But if people want to find out more about you, about the kind of thing that you do, they want to find more about when you might be gigging and whereabouts you are, how can people find out about you online?
I'm mostly on Facebook. I mean, I've not been updating my comedy page for some time.
Yeah.
Ian Peskett Comedy. If you want to know how to spell it, I'll spell it how the police always say it. Papa, Echo, Sierra, Kilo, Echo, Tango, Tango.
Have you got anything booked in for coming back? Anything to look forward to?
Yeah.
Not just yet.
I would like to start. My writing process is I get an idea, I send myself a text message, I expand it on a laptop document, and then I contract it to notes for open mic. And so I want to do a bit more of that before I start booking proper gigs anyway.
Fair enough. Like I said right at the start, as far as I'm concerned, you're one of the best writers that there is around and about at the moment. Certainly in terms of the people that I've seen around Nottingham for the last 2 or 3 years. I look forward to a time when we can actually sit down and try to do some collaboration stuff together as well, which I think would be amazing. Thank you so much for chatting. I've had a really, really good time. I hope you've enjoyed it. I will see you again soon, buddy. Thanks a lot for spinning the wheel.
Yay, nice one.
And that was the Spin the Wheel podcast with Mr. Ian Peskett. Did you enjoy it? I know I certainly did. I loved recording and chatting with Ian. I enjoyed editing it and trying to remember all the bits and pieces that we talked about as well. He's a fantastic guy. He's an amazing stand-up comedian. He really is a fantastic writer, and some of the stuff and the way he puts himself across is phenomenal. He tells a lot about his own story, about his rehab, his recovery, all the things he went through. A lot of that comes through in his comedy as well. So make sure you check him out, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's a local comedy festival. I know he'll be down at the Leicester Comedy Festival again, Nottingham Comedy Festival in the autumn as well. So yeah, check him out. Ian Peskett is an absolute dude. Ian, thank you very much for joining me. So that was that one, and we'll be back again in a couple of weeks' time. So if you enjoyed it, then please click like, subscribe to the YouTube, rate on the iTunes, tell your friends about it, let them all know. Spin the Wheel podcast every 2 weeks on a Friday morning. And if you like me and the stuff that I'm doing, you can also check me out, edijohnstonbit.com, where you'll find out about me and the musical comedy that I do, if you like that sort of thing. If not, then, you know, you're always still welcome to come back and just listen to me chat about stuff with my guests. I'll see you again in a couple of weeks' time for my guest in a couple of weeks, who I believe is the amazing Jesse Quinn off of Keene. Amazing bloke, great stories, really good pod. All the best. Take it easy now. Ta-da.